In this tutorial, I will talk about preview of queries, forms, and visual perspectives in the configuration tool. When you open a query or a form or a visual perspective in ORM, there is a window that shows how this query, form, or visual perspective looks in the browser. So here we have the query from the CRM sample application, and we can see the preview window here. And this is the business object form, and the preview is shown in this area here. And this is the administrator perspective of the library sample application, and we can see the preview of the visual perspective in this area here. This preview window allows the users to select some elements in this window and change their properties directly. For example, we can go to a query preview and select a particular column. We can then see and change its properties using the property window. Let's, for example, change the alignment. This is equivalent, but much faster, to finding this column in the list of columns in the display as property, and then changing its properties here. You can select attribute columns as well as columns that represent operations on records. Here we see properties of the operation, and we can change them just like we change attribute columns. We can also select and change properties of panel operations by clicking on the corresponding button in the toolbar. This is equivalent to clicking on the panel operations property and finding the operation in the list of the operations. If we click on any other location in the toolbar, we can see the dialog that allows us to modify the toolbar. This is a faster way to access the toolbar dialog than going to panel operations and clicking on the Edit Toolbar button. We can also click on the Filter row to access the Filters dialog, and if a query has pager, we can click anywhere on the pager and change its properties in the Properties window here. Again, this is much faster than selecting the Display As property, then clicking on the More button and changing the pager properties here. Also, if the query has a panel header, we can access the panel header dialog by clicking on the header. For custom queries, we can quickly access the template used by the query if we click anywhere inside the query. And if the template has been built using the template builder, we can access the template builder directly. For mobile queries, we can also click on the search area to access the filters dialog, or on the Operation with Records button to access the operations. For form previews, we can also access panel operations and panel header. Obviously, to customize the look and feel of the form, we can bring up the form designer. For more details about the Form Designer, please watch the Forms tutorial. And finally, let's have a look at the preview of a visual perspective. Here we have the administrator perspective from the library sample application. We can click on a content panel and see its properties and change its properties in the property window. If we'll double click on the content panel, we can see its content using the content dialog, which is also available from here. But in a preview of visual perspectives, we can also drag content panels around and change their positions. And for nested layouts, we can also make content panels bigger or smaller by pressing the plus or minus buttons. This is equivalent to changing the width factor properties here. You can actually see when I make the content panel bigger or smaller, the corresponding value changes. I can also quickly check how the layout looks on a tablet or a phone.